before I introduce the keynote speaker, I wanted to talk about enterprise agility. Is it a buzz or business impact? In fact, most of the organizations are in their journey of agility. They are different stages of maturity. Okay, and what we have seen during the COVID, when there was a survey done by McKinsey, very clearly it is seen that those organizations which are matured in their agility journey, they've been able to adapt very faster, even when the pandemic struck. So in multiple things, and what was seen is that first was response to customers, and then other support functions like employee engagement, operational efficiencies. Those were some of the themes or topics that they were able to adapt very fast. And agility is not only about speed, it's a mixture of or a blend of stability and dynamism. Okay, stability is what basically gives the direction and efficient and a scalable backbone. And of course, dynamism, it's about how flexible and how fast you are. Okay, enterprise agility very clearly, impacts all the three dimensions. Okay, the first thing that we have seen, agile customers are able to respond to the customers very fast. They're able to see whether they are happy. They are able to get feedbacks from them and take actions on a faster mode. So agile organizations, the report shows there was a customer satisfaction almost by 10 to 30 points when agility was, kind of implemented in their organizations. The employee engagement, they started engaging with employees a little faster. The efficiencies improved. So we've seen employee engagement improved by almost 20 to 30 points. And both these things were possible because operational performance increased by 30 to 50%. So there was a great improvement in operational performance, which impacted customer satisfaction and the employee engagement. With this operational efficiencies, we are able to get customer satisfaction and employee engagement. Okay, so that is how, and when we have all these three things, of course, the financial performance, be it the top line and bottom line, there's going to be a 20 to 30% improvement. When we see enterprise agility, the organizations have choices, across 5 operating model dimensions, be it strategy, be it structure, be it process, be it people, and be it technology. And many organizations do these things in a very different manner. There are different levels in each of those 5 dimensions. And those who have been able to bring in, a good implementation in all these 5 operating model dimensions, they have been proved to be a much matured in the enterprise agility journey. And that's what has kind of been impactful. In fact, you can start it off from a team level, then an enterprise level or business unit level. When McKinsey did this study, they actually taken the business unit and enterprise level. So enterprise agility is going to be the key. And within enterprise agility, it is the digital transformation which you are aware of. And in digital transformation is the adoption of cloud. Okay, so that is the topic that we are going to talk about, the cloud adoption and how cloud adoption is kind of improving the digital transformation. With that, I would like to, before I bring in the keynote speaker, very important for those who are there here and those who are going to join. Okay, there are going to be important poll questions or very exciting poll questions. It's a choice questions. So please do participate in it, and you might be lucky to win an iPad or smart watch as well. So there are some lucky winners. Those who are going to answer, you stand a chance. So make sure you pay attention to the speakers. So this is a small way of making sure that you pay attention to all the speakers. Without further ado, I would like to call our keynote speaker, Devdeep Sengupta, who's a former president and MD of SAP. He's a senior executive with more than 25 years of experience in the technology industry, having spent his career on with global companies like HP, IBM, and SAP. Deep has a proven track record of driving enterprise-wide transformation and was instrumental in the success of SAP in India and South Asia for close to 2 decades. During this period, SAP acquired around 14,000 clients, built a network of 500 plus partners. He has been personally involved in some of the largest digital transformation projects like Reliance, Tata, Vedanta, Infosys, Wipro, ONGC, IOCL, and many others. Deep served as the president and managing director of SAP India and South Asia from 2015 to 2020. And during his tenure, SAP India was voted as the #1 best places to work in India by Great Places to Work for 2 consecutive years. SAP India was one of the fastest growth regions globally and won the top performing region of the year of Asia in 2016 and 2018. SAP India also won the Golden Peacock Award by Ministry of Skill Development in 2019 for their social contribution to improve digital literacy among rural women and youth through a program called as Code Unnati. DIP is now a board advisor to late stage SaaS companies as well as early stage investors. He is on the board of advisor for Cloud4C and ControlS, providing direction and guidance on strategic matters. I think with this experience, whatever he shares, the insights and the trends probably will be useful to all of us who are there on this platform. Please welcome Devdeep Sen Gupta.
So, in a nutshell, I spoke about two people I most dependent upon during this as the situation was unfolding during the pandemic in the phase one. Number one was my CIO. Number two was my CHRO. And specifically, I talked about, I guess I got dropped off when I was talking about changing the policies. Number two was, being a B2B company. We were, pretty used to as a client-facing organization, which we were pretty used to either delivering projects physically on site with a little bit of remote support, or in having customer conversation in a face-to-face meetings, or doing product or solution demos in a face-to-face environment. We had to retrain our entire workforce of remote delivery, of remote customer engagement, remote solutioning, an entire thing. And we had to use all kinds of tools and techniques which our teams were not used to. And that's where, as I said, our CIO and our CHRO played a far bigger role than business leaders. And I personally believe that this situation, whether we go through the pandemic, whenever we come out of this pandemic, is going to sustain and remain. The role of this technology, the role of the CIO, is going to get even more important as businesses change, transform, and experiment with new business model. So there are going to be three fundamental shifts in my mind as we evolve in a post-pandemic or a post-COVID world. Number one, in technology, we have all used to, agile, we are all used to DevOps. There's a new word which has come out during this period, which is called Agile Business DevOps, which is companies experimenting with business models, which are technology-led, which are digital in nature, which have a cloud-first adoption policy. I'll give you a few examples. When I talk to automotive and pharma companies, imagine their dealer salespeople or their sales representatives will not be able to go and meet doctors, will not be able to go and make end client calls and go and meet dealers, go and meet consumers, so on and so forth. I'm picking this industry because they started adopting a model which is called a virtual salesman model, which is like an assisted selling model over through this engagement. Okay, so that's one example, and I'm aware most OEMs and pharma companies have not only experimented with this model, have now started scaling this model. Number two, to give you another example, which all of us have personally possibly experienced. Doing a video consultation with our physician. This technology has been there for ages. But as a business practice, as a business rule, either from the physician perspective or from the healthcare provider's perspective, or even as a patient perspective, we would have never opted, we would have never felt comfortable. This situation is not going to change if you look at the healthcare industry, even in a post-pandemic world. The third interesting model, which I'm going to talk about today, is we all are aware of e-commerce being led by retail and consumer product companies. Right? Have you heard of e-commerce being done by commodity companies or even distribution companies, commodity companies like metals and mining companies, which sells bulk products on spot or on trade? like 50% of the business happens on spot or on trade. They're adopting e-commerce model to have a better insight, to have a better visibility, to be able to meet the requirement of the market in a far more agile fashion. So, so that's the idea of a what I call a agile business development ops model, and that's the kind of experiments which has happened over the last 12, 18 months, and which has accelerated. The second phase of it was the entire area of IT project management and people strategy. If you look, obviously we are aware that for many years, large IT projects over a period of, like doing a 2 3 year old, 2 or 3 year roadmap kind of SAP transformation projects have actually led way to shorter, sharper project cycles. But it was still done in a waterfall method. If you look at in a complete remote delivery model, the entire project management delivery schedule has moved to a continuous delivery and iteration model in an agile format. Secondly, in terms of the people strategy, especially in the IT organization, that move started a while back, but today what has happened due to the pandemic, due to the COVID situation, most medium to large organizations have started insourcing the critical skills instead of outsourcing it. And whereas working with trusted partners who they've worked with, who have brings in the requisite capability to go in a hybrid resourcing model and delivering an agile project. The third area, and this is not just during COVID, but it has just accelerated, the entire area of IT infrastructure management to what I call CNC, cloud and containerization, right? Whether it is for auto scaling, like elastic cloud options, instant provisioning, or capacity add-on or decrease. These are the things which has really taken off over the last couple of months. So, however, there's a catch to this entire thing. Since Paresh started with McKinsey study, I'm continuing with that, Paresh. I hope you don't mind. So, so one of the key findings of this study has been that organizations that make minor changes to the edges of the business model nearly always fall short of their goals. Tinkering leads to returns on investments, which is below the cost of capital. So what it means is that these small experiments which you do on the edge is good to create awareness, is good to fix instant problems. But if you look at it strategically, you need to look at the entire, because in the name of digital transformation, lots of initiatives are happening, which is for a good reason. But to get the true benefit of a digital transformation, unless you look at an end-to-end business model, unless you look at experimenting and scaling at at an organization or an enterprise level, the benefits which you'll get is rather limited from this entire initiative. And that's what this study talks about. This study is across almost 800 CIOs and companies which was done. So if I put it in the SAP parlance, if you look at the entire architecture, which many of you are aware of, around the entire S4HANA architecture, which has a digital core and which has the 5 elements on the edge. Now, many of you have possibly taken a lot of experiments on the edge part of it, be it the customer experience, be it your supply chain or manufacturing execution, be it your people engagement, be it your network and spend analytics, and so on and so forth, be it adopting platforms and so on and so forth. But unless you are able to tackle the core ERP product, which is the digital core, in a holistic fashion, along with the whatever you're doing in edge, the benefits are going to be suboptimal. And that has proven time and again over a period of time. So if you're on the earlier version of SAP, and if you have the latest tools on the edge, you will get certain benefits, no doubt for that. But if you're able to synchronize and modernize your core along with your edge solutions, you're possibly going to get a bigger benefit and a more enterprise-wide, especially from a more enterprise-wide transformation. Having said that, what I also cognizant of the fact, over the last couple of years, as a CIO, I'm dealing with the complexity of challenges which I've never faced in the previous decade, right? It's not just a multiplicity of platform, multiplicity of cloud architectures to a multi-cloud architecture, which is private, public, combination of private, public. On-premise, some of the large companies still have on-premise as well as public cloud and private cloud or mobile infrastructure and things like that. It is pretty challenging as a CIO to be able to manage all of these. In addition, to be able to be a change agent where you can deliver the business benefits, where you can partner with your business leaders in their journey to transform, to experiment, and to scale, and to compete with digital natives like never before in the past. Because I talked about many industries, traditional industries, which are now adopting digital models. Now, it is one thing to adopt and experiment digital models, but as a CIO, when I look at what as a CIO everybody has to deal with, if you just look at the top 5, right from the complexity of the landscape to the executive or the board's lack of understanding, why should I make this investment? Why do I need to do it now? Why can I not do it with a smaller budget where I can get an instant return? So these kind of questions, the CIO, as a CIO, you have to face on a daily basis. Number 2, how do you take the small experiments to a major organization-wise success along with your business leaders and drive change management? While you do all of that, cybersecurity, compliance are some of the things which you have to manage your house. If tomorrow your company gets hacked for whatever reason, for whatever reason, the CIO goes through a significant pressure. And furthermore, if you look at your current talent in the IT organization, I'm sure each one of you are dealing with this situation where your existing talent have the right intent, have the right intention, but does not have the experience. And your ecosystem partners sometimes may not have that experience or the expertise. So how do you tackle in such a situation where you have to deal with a complex environment, where you have to be a change agent, where you have to convince your stakeholders, that is your board members, your CFOs, manage your team, at the same point of time, take care of the security needs of the organization. So it is going to, this complexity is going to increase as we go forward. And that's why the role of the CIO has to move from just purely executing a business support function to being the change leader, to being the change agent at an organization level. And that's what I had experienced, in my tenure in SAP, the role of technology, the role of policy making, the role of, to be able to be I would say, orchestrator across the entire organization. And I personally believe that every CIO should have a motto of running a best run business, which is, even if you're a traditional business, how can you be a best run digital and a physical business, leveraging technology? So that said, you still have to show the benefits or the payoff from technology and cloud adoption, right? You have to work with every individual stakeholder, be it your R&D, be it your procurement, be it your supply chain head, be it your manufacturing head, be it your marketing CMO or chief sales officer, to be able to show, to be able to get them on board on the common objective of what is the what is digital transformation about? How is it going to make their life simpler? How it's going to help them be be more operationally efficient, right? At the same point of time, be able to work with the finance organization and the business leader to show how technology intervention can actually give returns on investment in terms of EBITDA and I would say net improvement on margin, gross margin. Because if you're able to do this, drive change, and be able to empower your team for execution, and obviously partner smartly. I know it's a tall order, but that's a call of the day. You can build a world-class IT organization.
Okay, I'm pleased to invite Pradeep Jhunjhunwala. Is a dynamic and highly accomplished business and technology leader with a consistent track record of incubating new business that deliver increased revenue through development of new market and partners. He has over 20 years of experience, both successful direct and indirect sales, partner development, business development, and technology experience. His career highlights include concept of product developing multiple vertical solutions to solve business problems, and solution of design with system integration with which they take over to the customer on cloud, mobility, virtual desktop, and networking. We would like to hear his views. Pradeep, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Paresh. Thank you for the lovely introduction. So I hope you can see my screen. Please let me know when you can do that. Can you see my screen?
Yes, very able.
Yes, Pradeep. Yes, we can.
Yeah, so thank you everybody, and really appreciate in this time coming in, hearing it out. I hope everybody is safe and sound. So what we're going to talk about today is, and the stuff to carry forward after they've insight. But what we want to talk about today is SAP on Microsoft Cloud and why SAP on Microsoft Cloud. So let me first talk about something called Microsoft Cloud. I don't know how many of you heard this term, but then this is something which is super critical for us. Microsoft Cloud is the next generation of cloud what we are building with, for our customers, which encompasses of Microsoft Azure, Office 365, Dynamics, and which is glued to the Power Platform what we offer. And as Dave said, correct, you have to have all the 5 pillars when you are talking about digital transformation. And this is key for any company to look into it. So when you're looking at the people angle and you're looking at productivity, you look at Office 365, but when looking at the business angle, you look at SAP or Dynamics type of application. But then the whole idea is how can those two interact together to get a most cohesive environment and most cohesive enterprise. That is where the whole Power Platform and Azure comes in picture, which gives you all the containers and everything which they was talking about. So that's the whole power of Microsoft Cloud, which brings together the different aspects of technology what you need. So this is a technology platform which will actually fulfill all the need of a digital enterprise and which will really help you to do a digital transformation. But what is SAP doing on Microsoft Cloud, correct? It's a digital platform, but a platform for our partnership with SAP and a platform for you to build and grow your cloud business. So if you look at it, correct, if you look at Microsoft DNA, we are an enterprise DNA. We've been working with enterprise customers from ages now, from the time of Windows, Office, and business application we've been selling to enterprises. That's where we have worked with SAP, and we were the first cloud to go along with SAP. That's why we have 2x install base compared to our nearest competitor, AWS, and 10x over Google. We go and serve 95% of Fortune 500 companies. We have more reference of 10 DB data today running on Azure than anybody else. But the most important thing is the work we are doing with SAP. We are co-engineering with SAP. We have built out projects with SAP, and not only that, SAP's own SAP runs on Azure, and Microsoft is today one of the largest SAP user internally also. In fact, one of the top 5 SAP users in the world. So we take that learning and basically help customer deliver that. Help deliver customer the right platform which they can use to really host their SAP on Azure and really give them the right SLA and the right product so they can fulfill the digital transformation journey. But if you look at the digital transformation journey, and frankly, the survey talked about all the 5 things what is required, correct? Reduce costs, move from CapEx to OpEx and all that. Microsoft Cloud actually gives you that. So when you have to look at the whole B2B cases on the integration between SAP and non-SAP to optimize your business processes, or integration between upstream, midstream, and downstream business solution to get more visibility across the business. Because when you look at the whole ecosystem, what you're trying to do, and let me step back and talk about what a CIO is to do 5 years or 8 years back. When they used to do the SAP project, they used to think that that's the end of the line. I've done my SAP project. That's what I'm supposed to achieve. But today in the cloud world, SAP has become the first project where the customers are taking to cloud. And then they are looking at all the different integrations possible. Whether I can go and integrate with Salesforce if I'm using a Salesforce CRM, or can I use a Dynamics 365 and integrate that two solutions together? How can I get agility in my development system using the Agile DevOps? Or how can I go and integrate with my dealer management system for an automobile company and give the right view to my dealer? And as the new businesses demand, how can I suddenly become overnight a e-commerce company from a B2B company, because that's the demand, correct? So that is Microsoft Cloud gives you that platform to really look into every aspect of the technology and make sure that it gives you all the different options to integrate, build, and deliver the right solution with the business need and your customer need. That's where this platform becomes super important. And that's where we don't just focus on how can I build apps which are really quick, like how can I roll out apps in days rather than months. And that's the demand. So to give you a certain example, in Microsoft, when the COVID happened, we rolled out app for employees, which we were able to connect where the data was sitting in SAP in days. And if a mobile apps which people can use really quickly. But the most important thing which we took care was the security of the whole ecosystem. So that's what we are able to do. When you're looking at a manufacturing plant, how can I do intelligent automation? How can I really use the power of IoT and HoloLens and augmented reality to really deliver what the business is really looking at? How can I change the employee experience? Because today, suddenly we have changed the way we are working. Today, nobody's coming to office. We are working remote, but the experience of employees is paramount, so they can be productive. How can I have a connected system where employee gets the data which they need? How can I give them a single dashboard instead of going to multiple dashboards to get the right data? That's where the whole Microsoft Cloud comes in and really empowers you to do that. So let me go ahead and talk to you about how we do that. How we are doing stuff with SAP, how we are doing stuff with other people, and how we are innovating ourselves to bring that level of insights for you. So first of all, when you want to move the cloud, you still are looking at infrastructure, correct? Because SAP will go into a certain number of VMs on Azure. So we are the only cloud provider which can provide you the highest number of SKUs on Azure, which are certified SAP VMs, and we just don't stop there. Because we are providing a virtual machine is just one part of the infrastructure, but security is super important. So we build a product called Sentinel, which is the first cloud SIEM which really understand what is happening in the security domain, whether your people are doing the right thing or not, or somebody is trying to really hack and try to extract data out of it. This gives you proactive warning saying that, okay, this person or this user ID is trying to really access your system multiple times. Then for the better employee experience, we actually brought in the Azure AD to do a single sign-on. So when somebody is working from home or somebody working from office, you don't have to really remember 5 passwords for 5 different applications. The SAP, non-SAP application or Microsoft application, he actually uses the same username password and integrates across. We brought in the largest compliance portfolio to make sure that whatever environment you are running in is safe. And it's not only safe because we are saying it, is safe because a lot of third party has gone and audited that whole environment and make sure that is safe. Second, business continuity has become the norm. So we have multiple data centers in every region where we go. So every country we go and open a data center, we make sure that we have 2 data centers at least. In India, we have 3. So you can at least host your data inside the country, and you can do an in-country DR with the minimum latencies and the data protection laws getting covered. That's on the infrastructure side. On the security side, what we are doing, we bought in the backup technologies, we bought in the management technologies, so that you can at least have the complete view from the VM to the application of SAP, saying that what is happening to your environment and where you have issues. But on the business side, this is super important that we get the right data, because people implement system to understand what is happening. With our connectors and with our partnership with SAP, we are able to integrate all our analytics solutions with SAP directly. The Power BI directly integrates with the SAP ECC and SAP HANA now to get you a single dashboard of reporting which it requires. And it can get you reporting from multiple systems out of box. That's the whole idea. And then we build up and we empower that with our machine learning and AI to give you predictive analysis, saying that if you've done sales in the last 12 months, that's a pattern, how your pattern is going to look like for the next 12 months, and how you should be planning your whole procurement and inventory for the next 12 months. We're able to give you new customer insight with IoT and DevOps, and connecting multiple silos applications using Azure Logic Apps. So you can really experience what your customer is doing it and feeling it, and get the right data to the customer. And we'll talk about a case study later where how Daimler actually used this to really get the right insight from the customer. We all are used to Teams, and we are hosting this webinar on Teams. So how can we really empower that product to get the right access? And people is the most critical asset, and we've been talking about that for long. And with this pandemic, this has proved that this is the asset we need to really empower. This is the asset where we need to put a lot of effort to make sure that they go and be the most productive in the least amount of time they have today. We build integration in the team with SAP. So you can actually see every process of SAP inside the teams. You really don't have to go into any other application. And not only for SAP, for any other application that you are running on today. So this can be a single interface for going and querying everything. A sales guy going on field and want to understand what is the sales I'm doing with a particular customer, or is sitting at home and want to understand what is happening with a particular customer. You really don't have to open 15 dashboard to know it. Multiple dashboard, multiple information can be in the CRM system. Some information can be in the ERP system. We bring all together to make sure that he gets a single dashboard and is productive on the go at the right time, because today his time is most important. Correct? So that's what we are doing with the Teams and Power Platform. How can I build quick applications which is really easy to manage, and how can I use this application to empower the people on the plant floor is super important. And the best part is, how can I have citizen developers in my organization develop this application and not the IT developer? Because the biggest gap what we see is what the business wants and what the IT delivers. Sometimes that becomes a gap. If the citizen developer is able to develop the app, query the SAP systems, and get the output, that's the real power of the Power Platform what we bring in. And we have seen that happening with thousands and millions of developers on this platform talking to SAP. So what are we doing else, correct? So we also look at the developer ecosystem of SAP, and which is very unique if you look at it. This is an ecosystem which is very close-knitted. They don't get exposed to a lot of other systems. So what we build is something called ABAP SDK for Azure, because we are a developer company at core, correct? So we need to take care of that audience. So we enable people who are developing in ABAP to query the Azure system, to go and connect to our Office system and send the data to a SharePoint or OneDrive system like that. We build gateways for Office O365 interoperability. We are doing that. But so we are doing all of that, which is required for developers to come in. But we also look at the IT audience. We look at the IT team and say, how can I make sure whatever they're delivering is super secure, because that's important. We are opening up our systems, but then we also bringing in a lot of danger to our systems. Correct? A lot of hacking is happening, and that's what the worldwide report says. So if I opening up my whole SAP Fiori on my mobile app, how can I make sure that mobile app is secure, or the mobile is secure, or the desktop or the MacBook is secure? We went and integrated our enterprise management suite, the suite which manages all your end user devices, to protect SAP Fiori, so that we can make sure that it is really secure. We brought in our tools and compliance manager for SAP, so that we make sure that if we are running SAP, we give you the right data to make sure whatever you are running is in most secure manner. So we take care of all the business integration with blockchains, IoT, AI, ML, the CRM integration, third-party integration. We took care of the developer ecosystem by empowering developer to use Azure in a native way without moving out of the web skin. We take care of the IT ecosystem so that they guys can be sure that whatever they're running on our cloud is secure, on Azure which is secure, and we give them both proactive and reactive warning that something is not happening in the right manner, using Sentinel or the compliance manager and stuff like that. And we take care of the people who are actually using the system by giving them access of the system through the Premier tool and empowering them to take the right decision. So that's the whole idea of Microsoft Cloud, where we basically work with every part of the organization and make sure that is productive, make sure their goals are taken care, and with this, with the most critical application, which is SAP running on Microsoft Cloud, be able to do that. To just give you a glimpse of what the type of customer we are running, this is a glimpse of some of the customers we are running on SAP. And if you look at any verticals, these are some of the largest companies what we can think of. And this is not all. This is just a very small footprint of our customers running our customer. But I just wanted to make sure that you have a glimpse of what is happening. So you can take any vertical: retail, food, CPG, auto, chemical manufacturing, mining, oil and gas, energy, pharma. You see all the Fortune 500 names here. You see the largest name in oil and gas, Shell or Caltech running here, or Indo running here, or you can see Coke running here. So you see all the largest name of the world running out here. So let me go to one of the most interesting case study, which is Daimler. And the reason I want to talk about it is because this is a project. This is a company which is all we know, correct? We love the cars. We love Mercedes as a car, and they moved to Azure. And they are talking about how they really change the way they are coming out with the new technologies and the new cars after this migration. So some of the quotes from the company. So if you talk to Stephen, he says that the project was supposed to deliver for multiple months, but deliver multiple months faster. And this is what everybody wants. They want to save costs, they want to have agility, and that's the poll says that everybody want to move from capex to opex, save cost, move fast forward. And if you look at the type of system they are running the complete SAP system. They are running iCertis for their whole document management system and multiple other systems which they integrated. And one of the projects which they were trying to really do was a big data project to understand what is happening inside the company. Once they move SAP to Azure, they were really able to fulfill that. And they were able to launch the big data project to really understand what their customer needs. And that's what we offer precisely. And finally, with this and the IoT projects which we've done with them, they're able to bring out and understand the customer needs. They will understand the design flaws, the qualities issues and all that, and they're able to redefine the projects what we have. So that's a company like Daimler is really changing the way they are coming out to market. And the reason I want to talk about this company is because auto industry is doing a massive step, both because of pandemic and because of the change which is happening in the whole industry. The change which Tesla has bought out, and this sector is really under stress. And as a company can like Daimler can really change and bring out change, because both cost pressures, both pressures from the technology point of view, culture pressure, really a company which is old, changing the way for the new customer is a classic example on how you really do business transformation. How can you really do digital transformation? So that's the whole idea of how you run SAP on Microsoft Cloud, and why Microsoft Cloud and SAP really goes together to make sure that we fulfill the digital transformation journey which we are really going to go on. So thank you very much. Over to you, Paresh.
So Cloud4C is the application-focused managed service provider. We are managing around 4,000 customers globally. From a SAP perspective, we are managing around 550 plus customers globally. We have a global footprint in 25 countries and 52 locations, and we are a company of around 2,000 employees. Speaking about our credentials in Microsoft, we are a Gold Microsoft partner, and we are also Azure Expert MSP in the second year. So Azure Expert MSP is something with a top level partner certification, and we are there for 2 years in a row. We have also got Microsoft Partner of the Year for the Qatar country, and we are also SAP Partner Excellence Award for 2017-18, Infosys Finacle Niche Market 2019, and we are also Great Place to Work certified for this year. So these are the 25 countries we are present in and 52 locations. So we are trusted by world's largest businesses. We are trusted by 60 of the Fortune 500 enterprises. We are managing 3 of the top 5 banks in the world, including Bank of America and Standard Chartered banks, 2 of the top 5 global car manufacturers like Daimler and Chrysler, 2 of the top 5 media companies, 2 of the top 5 pharma companies like Novartis, and 2 of the top 5 global financial services companies like MasterCard and Swift. Speaking about Cloud4C's expertise, so we are from 2,000 experts, around 1,060 plus are public cloud experts, and 750 plus people are certified on the various public cloud certifications. Apart from Azure Expert MSP, we have also done some advanced specialization on Azure, including SAP on Azure, Windows and SQL migration, app modernization, Azure WVD, Sentinel, and analytics on Azure. Speaking about SAP certification, we are certified on the hosting services, cloud services, DevOps services, HANA operation services, and the AMS services. So we are continuously meeting the global compliances need for SAP customer, and you can see these are some of the regional compliances we have met in Australia, Malaysia, Oman, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, India, MITI and RBI compliance, Singapore MAS compliance, and Indonesia compliance. So these are some of the regional compliances we have met. And apart from that, industry compliances like payment card industries, HIPAA for health industry, and for pharma GXP compliances. And then there are some worldwide standards like ISO, SOC 1 and SOC 2 also we have met for different customers. So this slide will give you the background of the Cloud4C. So we are application focused cloud managed service provider with factory approach. So we have divided our service delivery team into 23 center of excellence. We work with SAP, we work with the application like SAP, then surround application like OpenText. Then there are some of banking application. We work with Intellect, Infosys Finacle, FIS, and TCS Bank. We work with Microsoft and Oracle applications, RP application like UiPath and Automation Anywhere, and the desktop virtualizations like Citrix applications. Speaking about our portfolio in the cloud, the enterprise managed services includes cloud consulting and migration, the managed security including the Sentinel and the Defender suite, business continuity and DR, desktop as a service for including the Windows Virtual Desktop, cloud hosting, and the infrastructure managed services. Also, we support the advanced managed services like DevOps as a service, including the Azure DevOps, RPA as a service. So we have actually taken over one company which is delivering the RPA projects, and this is possible with on SAP also using IRPA solution. Then the app and DB modernization, S4HANA migration, regulatory compliance as a service, which I spoke about in the last slide, and the multi-cloud cloud management portal. So these are all these service portfolio which is possible on Microsoft Azure platform or our own data centers in a hybrid way. So coming to the end-to-end SAP managed service portfolio. So we are managing around 550 plus SAP customer, and we are managing the standard SAP solution like ECC, Suite on HANA, S4 HANA, BW4 HANA, CRM, SRM, SCM. So these are some of the standard SAP solutions. And also we are managing some third-party solution like OpenText and extended portfolio like whatever you can see on this slide. We are also meeting these compliance requirement with all the SAP customers, which like IRAP we have done for Australia, and there are some industry certification like GXP for pharma companies. So as part of the 550 SAP customer, we are managing right from the infrastructure layer to the platform and the basis layer. And you can see the different services we are managing as part of this. You can see the monitoring, backup and recovery, HA&DR, optimization, administration, build services, performance optimization, and the security. So these are the services up to the platform level and the SAP basis. We have also expanded our services to the SAP application managed services, which includes the functional and the ABAP services, which my colleague Asim will be speaking about later on. So as part of the 550 plus SAP customer, we have developed some automation for the different areas. So you can see the different areas where we have developed automation in monitoring, auto reaction methods, proactive monitoring, reporting, governance, outage handling, administration, and the build services. So these are some of the automation IP we have developed, and these are being used for all the new customers. So most of the SAP customers know that they need to migrate to S/4HANA by 2027. So there are different ways to migrate to S/4HANA. Some customer needs to go for the greenfield approach. They need to start installation and implementation for the greenfield implementation. Some customer needs to do the brownfield conversion. So that is an easier way to convert from a ECC or Suite on HANA to S/4HANA. And then there is a third way, which is a bluefield or selective migration. This is possible. We have partnered with SNP, and there is a tool, Crystal Beach tool, which we can leverage for the merger and spin-off scenarios. So this is a typical customer life cycle for cloud approach. Typically for SAP customer, we start with the assessment. We ask the early watch alert report, HANA sizing report to understand the sizing requirement, and this goes into the planning section. And once the planning is done with the customer, we decide whether to migrate or modernization. So migrate is lift and shift, rehost or replatform, and the modernization will maybe migrating to S/4HANA or maybe using the SAP surround systems on the Microsoft Azure platform, which Pradeep discussed earlier. So once the workload, SAP workload is migrated to cloud, we manage, secure and optimize using DevSet operations, RPA, ITIL and AI operations. So we have a 24/7 NOC and SOC from Mumbai and Hyderabad, and we manage the ITIL processes using MyShift IT system management tool. So why SAP or SAP on Azure with Cloud4C? So we have a deep SAP and hyperscaler skills. We have the skills for SAP right from the infrastructure platform to the application layer, and we have the SAP on Azure skills also with the surround Azure SAP skills on Azure. We have developed a lot of automation, and this can be leveraged for faster implementation and automated migrations. Once the cloud migration is done, we manage the SAP workload using AI in operations. So we can better predict and prevent the issues from happening, and you can focus more on a strategic areas. And the last but not the least, the automated business process operation. So we use RPA at the process level. So we can do the process automation in the different functions like finance, operation, and the data side.
First of all, thank Devdeep for giving us a very nice insightful view towards this whole agile business DevOps concept, which is capturing the mindset and the mind share of various CIOs and the CEOs to drive the digital transformation. And then we heard how Microsoft Azure platform adds a totally different tangent of value to its customers when it comes to deploying SAP applications on Azure. And then from Dilip about Cloud4C's success stories and the capabilities in the space of managing SAP applications on cloud. I think you've gone through most of the intense content in the last few minutes. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to dumb it down to the very basic takeaway for this group of audience. in terms of what is the offering that we have for our customers, for our partners to really consume and take it to the market. It's a very state-of-the-art offering which has gone through a lot of research and development, and it basically takes care of the key pain points with regards to service quality, cost optimization, and obviously the credentials which Dilip has already shared about many of the top Fortune 500 companies are working with us in the same concept. So what's that offering is what I'm going to talk about. But before I start there was a very interesting question that came in a poll, and I don't find any other time rather than this time to highlight that question. The question was, what are the top cost items to be considered while planning a cloud migration? And I think this slide summarizes the answer to that question. Top cost items are, according to us, divided into these 5 brackets. First of all, the kind of cloud service provider. I think ultimately the very first question is about infrastructure as a service. So deciding and defining the right cloud service provider is something which basically drives the biggest cloud cost conversation and decision-making process. The next point is cloud readiness. How much of your organization is ready to move to cloud? What are the compelling reasons for them to move to cloud? How much is the change management required for the organizations to adopt cloud? And when you talk about cloud in this sense, we're not talking about lightweight applications. We are talking about the business, dependent core applications such as enterprise resource planning, which is really important from a perspective of business continuity and business as usual. So how much is the readiness of an organization to adopt cloud, or whether it is easy for them to continue running on-premise? There are pros and cons of both that needs to be sorted out. How many vendors are going to be involved in a cloud migration? So obviously, as you keep on seeing, there are niche players who have niche capabilities, and there are end-to-end system integrators into the market. Everyone is unique and good in their own way. I think it's up to the customers to decide. It's up to the CIOs and the CFOs to decide whether their service quality is being maintained, and whether the cost angle is not being hampered as well. Security is another aspect which drives the cost. Again, with regards to security, it really depends how secure applications you want. I mean, Cloud4C, for a matter of fact, has pioneered the whole security line of business. So we can offer you, let's say, a Ferrari, or in terms of security, and we can also offer you maybe a Toyota, depending on how much secure cloud you're looking for. And finally, compliance. Now, compliance also drives a lot of cost decisions, simply because there are regulated industries where they need the cloud to be compliant with certain global standards, certain country standards. There are obviously public sector organizations where data remains a very critical aspect, and the protection of data needs to go through certain compliance processes as well. So these are the challenges, as well as these are the top cost driving factors where we see we have an influence, and we believe that we have mastered the art of driving this cost to the lowest possible denominating factor. And as a result, we are able to offer you a very fast, a seamless, and a cost-effective transition when you talk about moving your landscapes to the latest offering from SAP, which is the SAP S/4HANA. What's the solution behind that? And I'll just dump it down to the specific solution that I wanted to talk about. Cloud4C has created this a unified package called SAP Switch to Cloud, which is a fixed price, fixed scope, fixed timeline offering. Essentially, what we are saying is we are delivering a Switch to Cloud package as a service, trying to cloudify the package to the maximum possibilities, and offering you, as a service, a package as a service. I wouldn't call it as a software as a service, but a bundle as a service, which basically means that we are taking away the initial entry point from an investment perspective. So it's a no capex approach. You can move to S/4HANA or any of the applications can move to the Microsoft Azure, and you only pay a monthly fixed managed service fee right from the start till the end of the contract, which could be 3 years, 5 years, or whatever. You save thousands on the capex and expenditure. You really save a lot by eliminating the on-site costs to a large extent. We have been delivering this solution across so many customers globally across 25 countries, where we have almost zero on-site presence. And that's only because we have simplified the whole packaged approach. We have made it a very effective questionnaire-based approach, where we are able to capture the requirements in a very nice, simplified manner, and that allows us to quickly revert with the proposal. There is a proposal factory which is taking care of that, which we have kind of invested in as well. And that also means that, as you continue to grow your cloud footprint, you continue to pay in the right sense, not only from an infrastructure as a service perspective, which Microsoft has already pioneered, but also the top managed services, which is basically taking care of the application level SLA, which basically means that your users will be able to log in at a particular committed SLA, and which is a few minutes of downtime is what we take every month as a little bit of a backup and making sure that your applications are safe and secure. But basically, we are giving you almost close to 100% of an SLA, which is not on paper. 100% is practical experience. On paper, it is around 99.9%. It's a risk-free approach. As we see, we have done it at least a few hundred times. And basically, the confidence is coming from the experience of delivery. This whole package has been also kind of appreciated by SAP, where we are obviously partners with SAP in the managed services space, and we have been recipient of certain specific awards over the last few years through the SAP partner ecosystem as well. So this is the package. Now what's behind the package? Just a couple of slides in a very simple manner. Behind the package, there is an SAP Automation Factory, which is where we started. The idea really is to create an automated migration factory using specific tools. It could be our internal proprietary tools. It could be certain SAP tools. It could be certain third-party tools. And a collection of these tools and creating proof of concept internally has helped us to accelerate the whole migration journey in an automated way to the maximum possibility. This has allowed us to pass on the necessary automation dividend, as I call it, to our customers by reducing the cost, increasing the efficiency, delivering innovation, and reducing the risk to the lowest possible category. Cost is something which obviously becomes an obvious element towards driving the automation factory, and efficiency because of the fact that many of the tasks throughout the way are getting automated, we have less number of people and human intervention. Risk, again, similar logic behind that as well, tried and tested formula. And innovation specifically is again a very interesting aspect, because throughout this journey, we are also providing certain automation packages at a business process level, which really allows us to reduce the cost of the number of incidents that customers raise in an AMS project to an AMS vendor. Since the number of incidents keeps on reducing, the number of people delivering these application management services support projects are also reducing over a period of time, which basically allows us to, first of all, reduce the cost, but at the same time continue to deliver innovation by automating the business process by using robotic process automation technologies, whether it is SAP based, whether it is Microsoft based technologies, whether it is the other vendors which are available in the market, which are getting a lot of popularity these days as well. So this is where our investments have gone in the last few years, and this takes care of the complete life cycle of the project as well, where customers may not be on ECC yet, so it takes care of the upgrade to the ECC. Transition to S4, there are a lot of moving parts in a transition to S4 and migration to cloud as well. there are pre-migration, post-migration, data reconciliation, custom code adjustments, testing, etc., etc. So throughout this cycle, there are various tools that play a role. For instance, we use robotic test automation. A robotic test automation is a mechanism where we are reducing the time of regression testing by using bots. For instance, custom code remediation, which again there are specific SAP certified tools which allows us to translate these custom code complete this custom code remediation in a faster manner, in a more accurate manner. And last but not the least, data. Companies, tools like SNP and even the SAP internal, migration tools help us to automate the data transformation aspect as well, which allows us to migrate the master data as well as the transactional data in multiple ways depending on what way the customer prefers. All this is backed up by a standard delivery factory that we have based out of our headquarters in Hyderabad, which really is a shared services model with standardized processes and quality gates, and really allows us to reduce the number of people and increase the utilization of the people as we proceed. So this is part one of the automation factory. And part two of the automation factory is this platform that we have created, which is literally once the customers have been migrated to our cloud platform, which is on top of Microsoft Azure, we leverage this underlying automation platform, which basically utilizes big data, modern machine learning and other advanced analytic technologies to directly or indirectly enhance the IT operations, such as monitoring, automation, service desk, dashboarding, updates, really functions with proactive and personal and dynamic insights, making sure that most of the provisioning activities are done with the click of a button, client copies are taken care of, certain testing activities are automatically performed on a regular basis, etc., etc. So pretty much I would say 80% of the infrastructure and the SAP basis related activities remain completely automated. And now with the help of these new technologies and new products like UiPath and SAP IRPA, we are taking it one step further and continuing to invest in the automation of the business processes as well, so that even the functional support which is required on top of the basis layer is also being added into this particular automation platform. And that only happens with partnerships with customers. We really have to understand the customer's business processes, and in terms of a real partnership, not a customer vendor relationship, but a true partner relationship, we can really bring that flavor into our automation platform, and we are doing it. We have a series of customers who are partnering with us and really allowing us to really understand how their businesses are working through these ECC and ERP systems, and we continue to improvise our automation platform just through co-innovation processes. So that was the background of what has gone behind the scenes in a nutshell. But this is the Switch to Cloud package. It has got 3 pillars. Down below, you see the automated SAP managed services on Microsoft Azure platform. If it is led by SAP, it could be the SAP Private Cloud Edition or the HANA Enterprise Cloud or the partner. And if it is led by us, it is a partner managed cloud. Then we have the application management services, so typical functional support with industry verticals. And then on top of it, you have the advisory and the implementation services. So various lines of businesses we have in our organization, starting with S4HANA, supply chain, finance, procurement. So for instance, if there is an S4HANA implementation, Dilip talked about greenfield, brownfield kind of scenarios. If there is a supply chain requirement, it could be a transportation management or business planning. Finance, central finance is getting a lot of popularity these days, and so on and so forth. So what we have done is we have just brought all these elements together, simplified the whole contract, trying to provide a guaranteed SLA and support at the application layer, and powered by an AI ops based services to really allow a fastest and the most cost effective way to S4HANA on cloud. That's point number one. And then managing it for over the next 3 to 5 years. And while we continue to manage it, our intent is to bring the cost down every year so that in the beginning of the year, let's say you're paying $100 a month. Our intent is to bring it down to, let's say, $85 a month at the end of 5 years. And that happens through partnerships. That happens through these kind of investments. And that's where we would like you to, give us an opportunity to work with you and consume this package in a unified manner. Especially when we're delivering this package end to end, we have a single delivery organization and a COE, which really again allows us to reduce the number of vendors, number of touch points, and gives us an opportunity to really give you a very cost-effective, high service quality solution as well. Now, very quickly, I think we're running short of time, but I'll just take another few minutes just to run through each and every building block, starting with automated managed services. With regards to the automated managed services, we are generally cloud agnostic. We use the public cloud as a preferred cloud choice, which is Microsoft Azure. If the customers want a private cloud for some reason, we have our own cloud in India. If the customers want on-prem cloud, then we are partners with HP, GreenLake, Lenovo, etc. And we can take a hybrid cloud approach as well. Security and compliance is another huge chapter in the company, which we will talk in subsequent sessions. We should be doing a very dedicated webinar on how security and compliance is something that we have mastered the art in, and we take it forward to having a conversation with you. And then we support all the solutions, whether they're SAP solutions or non-SAP solutions, even the SAP solution extensions, OpenText and others. The services included in this managed services are infrastructure, the SAP basis operations, and an SLA at an application layer of 99.9%. The next element is the application management services. This is where we follow the typical, ITIL methodology of incident management, change management, all these things which are, standards globally maintained, and we continue to, leverage them. And we have various kind of engagement models depending on customers' choices. It could be a staff augmentation model. It could be a co-sourcing model or a shared services model or a completely outsourced model as well. So depending on the customer's comfort level, we can define an appropriate application management service package as well. And last but not the least is the advisory and the implementation services. Any movement to cloud gives customers an opportunity to relook at their applications, and while they're investing into the cloud, it could be retiring some of the business processes from on-premise and moving them into the typical SAP LOB cloud for that matter. For instance, a CRM application of SAP, which now is being communicated as a SAP C/4HANA or a CX suite. So it gives an opportunities to most of us to really relook at what kind of applications we want to move to Microsoft Azure in order to keep the cost down, service quality high, and getting the best of both worlds. So this is the implementation and advisory services offerings in a nutshell. That's it. Just like to repeat once again, switch to cloud package as a service, only a fixed managed monthly service fee, no capex. Reduce amount of investments by no capex, as well as reducing thousands of dollars in on-site investments, and flexibly use model that helps you to pay as you grow. A risk-free model based on proven technologies, proven experience, customer references, etc.
To have a chat with this gentleman, I would like to, in fact, this is from Crescent. He's the CIO of Crescent Petroleum, Mr. Jaikrishnan Ramaswamy, Director Business Process and System, Crescent Petroleum. A brief introduction about him. He is responsible for developing, monitoring and optimizing business processes and systems in line with the prevailing strategy at Crescent Petroleum. Besides ensuring corporate efficiency, he provides guidance and support for all key corporate affairs and business services. He plays an instrumental role in maintaining the company's online presence and consolidating its sustainability reporting efforts. Jaikrishnan offers over 28 years of diversified experience in the area of finance and accounting, organizational development, and strategic partnerships in UAE and India. Prior to joining Crescent Petroleum in 2013, JK, who is popularly known as JK, served as the Enterprise Resource Planning Project Director at Petrofac in UAE. This is very interesting. He's a chartered accountant from India and a certified public accountant from USA, in addition to being a certified in international treasury management by the Association of Corporate Treasurers. So finance man doing technology stuff, which means you can understand how much optimization he would have bought in and how he is basically business oriented. He also has some philanthropic endeavors in his hometown of Chennai, where he basically aims to provide fairer access to education and healthcare to not so privileged folks. Welcome, Mr. Jay Krishnan.
Thanks, thanks, Paresh. Thanks for having me on the chat.
Okay, so let me see if we are there. Okay, thank you once again. And what I want, we have heard about the importance of switching to cloud. I wanted to understand what was Crescent's landscape when you started the journey. How was it? If you could throw some light on landscape, was it a green field, brown field? What was it?
Sure. Thanks, Paresh. And again, repeating, thanks for having me on the chat. For the audience, at least people in India, I know I'm standing between you and your lunch. I'll try to make it as interesting as Paresh mentioned. I'm not a technology person. I presume I'm audible, right, Divya?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
we want a clearer view of both of you gentlemen. So request Mr. Shetty to stop sharing his slides so we can have you on screen. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting. Please go on, sir.
Sure. Thanks. Good. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So I'll try to make it as business oriented as possible, less technology focused, which is what my expertise is, as Paresh said. Crescent is a family-owned oil and gas business, the oldest private oil company in the Middle East region. We produce close to 100,000 barrels of oil a day, 110,000 barrels from our operations in Iraq, Kurdistan. We have three business units, the Crescent Enterprises, Crescent Group, which is at the top, Enterprises, which is the conglomerate which runs multiple businesses like ports and logistics, venture capitalists, private equity investments, food and beverage, technology, modern technologies like batteries, etc. And Crescent Petroleum, which is oil side of the business, which is the biggest part of business for the last 50 years of our existence. In terms of our landscape, Paresh, we were a very disparate landscape company prior to 2019 when we started on this journey. And we had multiple small systems, very disparate, landscape, people entering their own data in multiple systems and 5-7 times, when we did the process landscape, that we were so sort of very wide ranging applications that are running in the company. So we said, okay, we have to do two things. We have to modernize the company for the next wave of growth that we wanted to have. And we also needed to bring in best in class, because we had a vision where we would like to be 500,000 barrels production by 2025, which means that we need the engine for growth to help us take the growth to the next stage, along with the second generation owners of the company. So we took two conscious decisions. Decision number one, we said we need to bring one enterprise solution which encompasses all the other areas rather than having multiple versions of truth, a single version of truth. So we chose SAP, being an oil company, a sort of a no-brainer decision. And on top of it, we said we have to embark on a journey where we are having latest technology in the organization, the ability to be able to access it. And this is pre-COVID, and just to let everybody know, to be able to work from anywhere and provide the flexibility for our employees to access the solution from any place and provide them cutting edge technology effectively. So we really had to do a bit of internal selling job, and we sold the dream, or I would say the reality, the current reality of going to cloud as a key aspect of how our landscape should be. And from then we have been on a cloud journey for the last 28 months approximately. More than 50% of our workloads is currently on cloud, predominantly infrastructure as a service, with some SAP side being managed entirely by Cloud4C, Control-S, who are our partners for more than 3 years now effectively. Single cloud service provider, I believe there was a question that somebody asked, should we have a single cloud or a multiple cloud? I think it's horses for courses. We as an organization felt that if you have a multi-cloud solution, the administrative hassle of managing that for a smaller size organization is going to be very difficult. So we stuck to a single cloud strategy. Obviously, it depends on the kind of workloads that you have that will decide such a strategy, but we are on a single cloud with Azure, both the SAP environments and the non-SAP environments. We do a bit of security internally, but our entire SOC for the SAP environment is managed by Cloud4C on Azure with Azure tools that are available. And I think that's where we are, Paresh, in terms of our landscape. We obviously would like to go further on the cloud journey. That's our
Thanks
motto.
so much, JK. Actually, in the interest of time, we've kind of embedded some of the panel questions already. In fact, some audience have already asked questions. And thanks, you almost touched upon, what cloud to choose and how do we choose. You said horses and horses. And particularly in your case, you have adopted to this 28 months before. So the experience you had, and plus, when pandemic struck, probably this would have really been in the right thing, probably an icing on the cake. What I wanted to understand is why Azure? How was your migration to Azure? The challenges that you faced. So if you could explain that as well, because when you take up the cloud journey, you have made a decision taking some pointers in mind. But when you actually get into it, are there the challenges that was there? What was the advantages of SAP on Azure? If you could cover that portion in particular, it would be nice.
No, sure. Thanks, Paresh. Again, we were a greenfield implementation of SAP, which meant that we did not have big time challenge of migrating to Azure of our SAP landscape. Having said that, our biggest challenge was the ability to move non-SAP related affiliated services. For example, one of the biggest challenges we faced was, along with the Azure migration to the SAP implementation on Azure, we had to migrate our AD onto Azure so that we can have a single sign-on enabled. I think that was probably one good, given the fact that we had to do that along with the SAP implementation. Probably that was a challenge. And those who are sort of moving to Azure, and one of the big benefits of going to Azure would be to have an integrated AD on the Azure platform. Probably that is one area where we need to face challenges is what we came up with along as part of our implementation. Typical internal change management challenge, security as a concept, management saying, oh, you're on cloud, your data is on cloud, your payroll data is on cloud, your customer data is on cloud, all the kind of questions. So ability to proactively work with a service partner and Azure, who are really very, very working very closely with us in the region in UAE, to present a proper case study to the management on the security aspect of going to cloud would be probably the biggest challenge for any organization that is going into cloud. And I think that is where the initial focus should be. I would say we put a lot of effort in trying to do a bit of sizing, because HANA comes in this t-shirt sizing logic of 24, 64, 128 kind of logic. We spent a lot of time trying to see whether what is best fit for us, but we realized you don't need to do that with the flexibility that comes with Azure, the ability to ramp up, ramp down to different t-shirt sizes pretty quickly. So I would say, even if your implementation partner is trying to sort of lead you down the route and say, we'll fine tune it, put growth, given that Azure is easy to scale up, you should focus less. That's a challenge you will end up, because you will end up spending a lot of time trying to engineer the sizing. Again, not very, very relevant in my view, not very important to focus on. And I think the biggest challenge would be to have the managed services partner or your internal team, whichever way you want to structure it, well upfront in the migration journey rather than coming late in the journey. I think that was the biggest learning for us. We did get our MSP on time, or we thought on time, but it could have been still better ahead of time. No ahead of time is any better other than at the inception of the project, because you need to have the entire technical team, the basis team, which is what we have outsourced to Cloud4C. They should work closely with us and the implementation partner. And I think that is the biggest learning for us, to have the MSP and your internal team, technical team, working with you from inception would be a big learning that I can say from my own personal experience.
Thank you so much, JK. That was very insightful. I mean, the entire journey, and the way you talk with passion, it looks like the entire journey you were there personally involved in the entire implementation. Now let me move it on to another subject which is very dear to you, being from a finance background. Tell us about the total cost of ownership. How was the optimization done? And with this, I would also fuse in at the end, probably because in the interest of time, how did C4C and Azure work with you in the entire journey? It could be a second part, but first part is the total cost of ownership.
Then obviously, and being a small company, we were highly cost focused, and there was a lot of focus on keeping the total cost of implementation to as low as possible. So when we went with a budget to our CEO, his he gave me two mandates, right? Mandate one, it has to be on budget implementation. That there cannot be a budget extension, right? So very clear upfront. The second interesting thing he told me is, he said, I want a zero customization implementation. And these are the two KPIs on which we were measured as a team. I was measured individually as a person on this. And so cost of ownership was on the top radar for us as through the entire implementation gamut. And Azure gave us a very beautiful way of structuring our infrastructure in a manner where we could bifurcate the loads that we have, particularly on the SAP side, into what we felt as critical loads and non-critical loads. And we clearly had the Azure gives us beautiful options like reserved instances, pay as you go if you're not going to run it, even pay as you go if you're running it 24/7. Pay as you go, the cost is different. If you run it only during daytime, the cost is different. There are so many good combinations that are available. So we broke down our entire landscape into critical, non-critical, went for reserved instance with minimal upfront capex on the critical side. On the non-critical side, like for example, things like we had a golden instance on our quality, or we had our sandbox instance. We put all those on a pay-as-you-go, which we could turn up, turn down whenever we want, rather than paying them on a long-term basis, on a regular basis. So, and Cloud4C really helped us optimize this in the initial stages, so that when we went live, we were really well geared for two things. One is our total upfront capex was much below what we would have spent if I had done an on-prem implementation of the hardware. Point number one. And point two, our operating cost also was pretty low because we had optimized our pay-as-you-go to a very, very minimum level that was required for us. And the reserved instances ensured that my upfront capex was low, but at the same time, the ongoing payment that I made was reasonably well managed. And Azure as such gives a lot of value proposition on the operating side itself. Like, the cost of, to give an example, our primary is hosted in Ireland. And, we went to Ireland. Microsoft was gracious enough to take us to Ireland to show us demo of the data center. And I was stunned that out of the entire 52 weeks in a year, the air conditioning in the data center runs only for 2 weeks in a year. The remaining 50 weeks, the air conditioning is managed effectively using the local condition and climate available. See the amount of we were stunned. Honestly, we were really stunned because that it is carbon neutral. We are not adding to the environment. I'm a sustainability champion for the company. So it's a big tick for me. It's cost reduction because I'm not paying for costly air conditioning. And just for 2 weeks is what. So I think from an overall perspective, we really benefited from going with Azure on the front that we are sustainable. We are green IT. We are supporting the green IT strategy. The upfront capex was low because we went with a good reserved instance strategy, which was guided and supported by our MSP, which is Cloud4C. And our ongoing cost is low because of Azure supporting us, as well as our MSP structuring it the pay as you go in a manner where our overall cost of ownership is pretty less. So to suffice to say, we have not overrun the budget of the implementation, both the implementation cost as well as infra cost, and I've managed to achieve my KPI. And our OPEX is also so far so good, keeping fingers crossed, but we are on line with budget.
The entire story. I mean, I can go on because with the way you explain. By the way, by any means, I know there's McKinsey study on that. Could you tell us what was the cost saving? Probably some percentages, if it's okay for you to share. I mean, I'm sure the audience would love to hear it.
We put an internal budget working. If we go with on-prem infrastructure, what will be the cost?
Yes.
And on that, based on our reserved instance and total cost of ownership for 5 years, I would say we were probably about at least 32% lower.
Well, that goes in line with what McKinsey study talked about also, 30 to 40% savings very clearly, apart from all the efficiency that it brings in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So, I mean, with that, I have one last question. I have some 7-8 questions that I wanted to ask, but in the interest, we've kind of delayed things. So I'm getting prompters.
Sure.
Wanted to talk about security. You did briefly talk about it, but if you can tell us on the security front, how it has helped, moving to cloud.
Sure. We had a bit of challenge up front, convincing our management to go on the cloud journey. And we actually used Microsoft's name to sell the security story internally. We said genuinely, and we said every PC in our company is a Microsoft run PC. Right? We said Windows 10. If Microsoft says, this, you need to upgrade this patch, and they push it, we don't ask a question, we upgrade it. So the skin in game for Microsoft to keep operations of enterprises they support. There was, I think the second speaker from Microsoft, he made a point that 95% of the Fortune 500 companies are with Azure and Microsoft, right? Needless to say, the skin in the game that they have, I think that was a big comfort factor for us. And the risk of a security lapse for me, compared to the risk of reputation loss for Microsoft, is the way we sold the security. I'm genuine. This is the way we address the problem upfront. That aside, technically, we have two-layered security that has been built into our entire cloud environment. And I'll just take 1 minute to explain that. We have SIEM, SOAR, EDR, etc. that has been provided as tools, which comes within the Azure stack, which we are using very effectively with our MSP, who are providing us all the early watch and performance analysis and trigger of events, etc., which happens very effectively. On top of it, we have the SOC, which is provided by our MSP as part of our negotiation with them, which means that I get an additional layer of monitoring, which is built in. And as part of this SOC, we have used Solman to its good capability within our landscape, right? Early watch alerts, be it early watch alerts on the app side, or any trigger of events using Solman. We are using Solman effectively configured by MSP, which means that we have what I call double side protection. Azure side, which has got the SIEM, the SOAR, and EDRs, which are available as a part of Azure stock, managed by MSP, which takes care of the infra level security, and application level, we are using Solman capabilities to a great extent. And I think that jointly has given us the comfort that we are doing pretty well. And it is really, we are able to manage our environment with agility. We are able to manage, we have not had any incident, obviously. And we are pretty, in fact, zero unplanned downtime in the last 18 months since we've gone live, so that probably is
that was so wonderful to hear, JK. Probably you could end it with e-advice, because you're the one who's experienced it since the last 18-20 months, to the ones who are starting their journey of cloud adoption or probably are midway there. Any final advice before I sum it up?
Sure. I'll just give only one anecdote from my last 18 months experience working on Azure and cloud, right? We had an incident when, some log files, I'm not a techie, some log files got ballooned up and our database storage was sort of going out of bounds or something like that. Immediately, with support from our MSP, we could just go to a higher end server for 2 days, kept our production running without any interruptions, fixed the bug, fixed the issue, reverted to our original server within 2 days. I mean, that is the sort of flexibility that you will get if you're working on cloud. For us, it is Azure. I mean, because we're on a single cloud, but I'm sure there are tools and MSPs who are available who could give the same level of service on any cloud. So I would think cloud is the way the world is going. That's where our data, our mobile phone data, everything is on cloud. We don't store anything. We are literally going towards 0 MB kind of storage nowadays because we want to park everything. So we didn't face challenges. We are utilizing what we have on offer very effectively, and I definitely it'll be a no-brainer to go to cloud and invest wisely by rationalizing. That's what I say.
Thank you so much. I'm sure many CIOs would want to reach out to you. Devdeep, you came in between. You wanted to add something, Devdeep, as a summary? I mean, it was
no. I think JK already summarized some of the key things of being a change agent, not just, and he, given his background coming from business and driving technology, I think the 3 key things he talked about. Obviously, managing security, ensuring project on time, and ensuring returns, but more importantly, being the change agent for the organization. I think that is the evolving and the future role of CIO.
Absolutely. And just last word, Paresh, is that given that our implementation was so successful, last month we were awarded the SAP Mina Gold Quality winners for our implementation entirely.
Wow. You deserved it. I mean, the way you explained it itself showed how perfectly you kind of did that. I'm sure you would be like a torchbearer of this adoption. I'm sure many would want to kind of learn from you. Thank you so much.